Mike Hughes, a retired firefighter, carried the weight of countless rescues in the quiet corners of his memory. Yet, one event, a searing snapshot from his past, refused to fade. It was a rescue etched not in flames alone, but in the fragile breath of new life. The shrill ring of the station phone, one sweltering afternoon years ago, had sliced through the usual camaraderie. Mike, then a younger man hardened by drills and the grim realities of his profession, never imagined the tendrils of that call would reach so far into his future. The report crackled over the dispatch. A family home engulfed. Sirens wailed, a familiar prelude to chaos, as Mike and his crew sped towards the inferno. Protocol kicked in the moment they arrived. Assess, strategize, act. Half the house was already a skeletal ruin, flames clawing at the remaining structure, threatening complete collapse. Time was a luxury they couldn't afford. An unspoken understanding passed between the firefighters. Lives hung in the balance. They moved with a focused urgency, their every action deliberate. Despite the routine nature of their duty, the potential for irreversible loss always lent a profound weight to these moments. They had to find a way in. Smoke, thick and acrid, billowed from every crevice, obscuring any clear entry point, but years of experience had honed their instincts. Working in tandem, they located a relatively less damaged section and, with practiced efficiency, forced an opening. Mike was part of the entry team. The heat intensified with every step inside, a suffocating blanket pressing down on them. His gut, a reliable compass in the disorienting chaos, urged him forward. He moved from room to room, his eyes scanning the swirling smoke, searching for any sign. Then, amidst the orange glow and dancing shadows, he saw it. A flicker of the unexpected. A crib. Adrenaline surged, but years of training held him steady. Focus, precision. A misstep here could be fatal. He reached the crib. Inside, a tiny form lay curled, oblivious to the inferno raging around it. A baby. In that instant, the enormity of the situation, the sheer vulnerability of this small life, struck him with visceral force. The baby was wedged against the bars. Panic threatened to seize Mike, but he fought it down. Half the house was gone. The rest wouldn't last long. The room was a furnace, the air thick with superheated particles. Another few breaths, and it would have been too late. He gently but swiftly freed the child, cradling the small, fragile weight in his arms. A 9-month-old girl, he later learned. He raced back through the collapsing doorway, delivering the infant to safety before rejoining his crew to battle the remaining flames. When the fire was finally extinguished, the acrid smell clinging to everything, Mike didn't know what had become of the baby. He trusted she was in capable hands, back with her parents. But the image of that tiny form in the crib, the sheer precariousness of her existence, haunted him. Life moved on, rescues came and went, but this one lingered, a persistent echo in his thoughts. He couldn't recall her name, couldn't picture her parents' faces. Sleepless nights became a recurring torment, his mind replaying the scene, fixated on the unknown fate of the child. Was she all right? Had she inhaled too much smoke? Was she even still alive? Retirement offered no solace. The questions remained, a constant hum beneath the surface of his days. His loved ones noticed his preoccupation, the subtle cloud of worry that never quite lifted. Finally, driven by an unshakable need for closure, Mike decided to search. He started with his former colleagues. They remembered the fire, the intensity, the successful rescue. But details, names, faces, those had long faded into the collective memory of countless emergencies. Disappointment gnawed at Mike, yet his fellow firefighters understood the lingering impact of such profound moments. Every firefighter carried a rescue they could never forget. Mike's longing remained a persistent ache. Then, a fragile lead emerged from an unexpected source. He confided in his mother, their bond a lifelong anchor. She listened, her empathy a familiar comfort. He spoke of the baby, the gnawing uncertainty. Had she any idea how he might find information? His mother, his unwavering champion, cherished every article that had ever featured her son's bravery. As they sifted through a collection of yellowed newspaper clippings, a headline jumped out, "She's alive." The accompanying article detailed the fire, the heroic rescue, and the survival of baby Danielle Davidson. A name, a starting point. Hope flickered within Mike. He turned to Facebook, the vast digital landscape his only other lead. A search for Danielle Davidson yielded countless results. Discouragement threatened to engulf him, but he pressed on, sending tentative messages to women of roughly the right age. Days turned into weeks, filled with polite but ultimately fruitless replies. The real Danielle seemed lost in the digital sea. Just as hope began to wane, a message arrived that stopped his scrolling finger. A young woman named Danielle Davidson responded with a bewildered curiosity. "I was quite confused at first," she wrote. "I didn't know all this had happened." Her parents, however, filled in the missing pieces, recounting the terrifying night and the brave firefighter who had pulled her from the flames. Yet, a healthy skepticism lingered. Mike's initial message had been brief. "Hi, Danielle. My name is Mike Hughes. I think I rescued you from a fire when you were a baby." Danielle decided to test him, to separate the genuine rescuer from a potential imposter. "Oh yeah," she replied. "What was my mom doing?" 17 years melted away. The image of the chaotic scene flashed in Mike's mind. He remembered the frantic questions, the snippets of information relayed in the heat of the moment. "She was at work," he typed back without hesitation. "Your father was there." A stunned silence followed on the other end. Danielle and her parents were astounded. Not only did he remember such a minute detail after all this time, but he had actively sought her out. They had never imagined the rescue had left such an indelible mark on the firefighter's life. Danielle had heard fragments of the story over the years, hushed tones and grateful glances. But the full impact, the profound role this stranger had played in her very existence, only now began to dawn on her. Without him, there would be no graduation, no future. A flurry of messages followed. Mike's heart swelled with each word, each confirmation that the tiny infant he had held in his arms had blossomed into a vibrant young woman. Tears welled in his eyes as he read about her school, her passion for athletics, her success in running. A deep connection formed, an unspoken bond forged in the crucible of that long-ago fire. Danielle, about to graduate high school, felt an overwhelming desire to share this milestone with the man who had unknowingly given her the chance to reach it. Their online connection, though meaningful, felt incomplete. It was time to bridge the gap, to meet face to face. One ordinary morning, Mike found a large purple and black envelope in his mailbox. The unfamiliar handwriting sparked a flicker of curiosity, a faint echo of the hope that had driven his search. Inside, a photograph lay nestled amongst tissue paper. It was Danielle, radiant and smiling. As he read the accompanying letter, the reality of its sender washed over him. An invitation to her graduation ceremony. A wave of emotion, a potent mix of surprise and profound pride, overwhelmed him. He would be there. He had to be. The graduation day arrived, a blur of proud families and youthful anticipation. When Danielle and Mike finally saw each other across the crowded hall, 17 years of unspoken gratitude and lingering memory converged. Tears streamed down both their faces, a silent testament to the extraordinary connection they shared. "I don't really know how to describe it," Danielle said later, her voice thick with emotion. "They're just happy tears. Just to realize that, things could have gone wrong." She looked at Mike, a profound sense of gratitude in her eyes. "For some reason, it just doesn't really feel like me in those stories. That was obviously me, but it's just really hard to believe sometimes." Mike, his voice raspy, simply said, "She was the third person I've dragged out of a fire in my career, so I always say 3 times a charm. Started out a little bit rough, and then she's made it all the way through high school now. So she's successful and happy. I like that. That's perfect." Somewhere, Mike knew, his mother's heart swelled with an immeasurable pride. And as Mike and Danielle embraced, a bond forged in fire and sustained by the enduring power of human connection, they knew this was just the beginning of a remarkable friendship. Their lives, once separated by a wall of smoke and fear, were now intertwined, a testament to the enduring impact of a single act of courage.